Okay, so for challenge 12, we are asked to write an algorithm that generates a random number between 1 and 10. It must then ask the user to guess this number. If they guess it correctly, it should display correct, otherwise display not what I was thinking. So we've done these things before. Apart from this line here, we have done all the rest of it before. If statement, else statement, and telling us what to print. Nice and straightforward. So if we create a new file, I'm going to help you with the first part in a minute. Let's just imagine that we've got a random number. So let's just start with random number, and we'll call it 6. Now we need to ask the user for an input, so we'll call it guess. I'm going to make their guess an integer because it's numbers, and we'll ask them to type in a number. Guess the number I'm thinking of. Okay, onto the if statement. So if guess is equal to random number, print correct. If it isn't, then we're going to print not what I was thinking. Okay, now that program will work absolutely fine. I'm going to move on to the random number part of it in a second. So let's just test it first. Guess the number I'm thinking of. 5. Not what I was thinking. Let's get it right. So 6. Correct. Okay, so we know that our program works. Now what we want to do is generate a random number. So rather than just telling the computer what it is, we're going to generate something random. So even though this is quite early on in the challenges list, it's our first introduction to something called a library. So we're going to import a library, and it's called random. And what that basically does is it's going to import a selection of different functions that I can use in this program. So we've imported this library, and it's like bringing in a load of different books that you can access things from. So we've brought in random, and now I'm going to be able to use a function from it. So we're going to set random number as random. So I've used the random library, and use a function called randint. That is literally random integer. So there's a function called random integer that generates a random integer, and in brackets you tell it what numbers you want it to start from and end at. So these are parameters. They're called parameters, which you'll probably understand if you've completed the course. If you haven't and you're just starting to pick it up, you will become more familiar with these. This function is called randint, so it's random integer. It's a pre-written function that already has a load of code with it, and it uses these parameters to say what is the starting number, what is the end number. So it's going to start from 1 and end at 10, and it could generate any random number including 1, including 10 for this program. Now if I do this right and I test it, it's going to be very, very difficult to know whether I've got it right or not. So I'll show you what I mean if I test it. So the computer has now actually generated a random number, and I've got no idea what that is. So unless I'm very, very lucky, I'm not going to get this right. Press 7. Not what I was thinking. That's because I don't know what the computer's actually done. So I'm just going to test whether this line of code actually works, and I'm going to do that by outputting to the screen what number has been generated. So if I test this now, it's telling us that it's thought of the number 5. So if I press 5, it should tell me that I'm correct. Okay, so we know that this little line of code that we've done is working. Now we want to get rid of that, otherwise the program's not very good. So the computer is generating a random number between 1 and 10, asking the user guess it. If the guess is equal to the random number that's been generated, tell them they're correct. Otherwise, tell them not what I was thinking. That is challenge 12 complete.